Hey everybody, Tony Gonzalez with Garage Composites. We often hear from our dealers that cost of doing business is going up and margins just keep getting smaller, and that's exactly why we decided to partner with MyCamp. MyCamp works with powersports and auto dealerships nationwide to help reduce or even eliminate thousands of dollars in credit card processing fees. They do this through lowered rates or fully compliant dual pricing and surcharge programs. Garage Composites recently switched our own processing over to MyCamp, and it was super simple. Kylie and Lauren over at MyCamp ran a quick analysis of our current processing statements, showed us exactly how they could cut our monthly fees by 25%, and then had our system converted and running smoothly within a week. After working with their team, we wanted to partner so that our listeners can benefit from the same savings. MyCamp has agreed to help offset any upfront conversion costs for GarageCast listeners. If you want to see how they can help your business, you can email them at garagecomposites@mycamp.com. garagecomposites@mycamp.com. That is MICAMP. garagecomposites@mycamp.com to schedule a meeting with their dedicated team. We hope you use them. We're super happy with them.
Hey gang, Sam here. In this episode of GarageCast, Tony and I break down all the learnings from the fall round of meetings here in 2025. We also talk about a lot of the OEMs and what we're seeing on the horizon. Enjoy this episode of GarageCast.
This is a show for anybody that has something that they want to say. It's going to be full of people with a lot of energy, CEOs, OEMs, vendors.
Best practice ideas in this industry and of neighboring industries.
We're talking to people that are on the cutting edge of processes, management.
Serial entrepreneurs, authors. We really have a feast of all different types of senior level people.
A cornucopia, as it were.
A plethora, maybe. Grab a pen, grab a cup of coffee, and have a seat. Start writing. This is GarageCast.
GarageCast. Welcome to GarageCast. That's Sam Dantzler. I'm Tony Gonzalez. Episode number 309.
Oh, I was going with 99, but we'll go with 9.
399.
Yeah.
Episode 300 and something. We are on the back end of our fall 20 clubs. Everybody's pretty much off the road, which means we have a lot of data and ideas that we aggregated and want to kind of bring back to you. How was your round? You left your basement, dude. And why is your sign not lit up, dude? Too, by the way,
dude. Can you just say congratulations for getting it put up first?
Hey,
can you
Sam
just give
got
me a little
sign put up after a year?
I
2
don't
years.
Well, it was up. It was up in my garage. Let's not act like it wasn't up. It just wasn't up on the. It
was not up in your garage, dude. You were like, "How do I put this up?" So it's not like you put it up once, then took it down.
No, I propped it up. I didn't bolt it into the wall. I just leaned it up like you would a mirror for your closet. You just leaned it up. But now it's down here, so I got it up, and I didn't realize that plugging it in the plug directly behind me where the computer was plugged in gave us some considerable feedback the last time we turned these cameras on.
Yes, it did.
So I'm gonna have to figure that out for the new year. I will run another cable and get it plugged in somewhere else. If that's the only thing,
extension cord, people, that'll be 2027. We'll have that thing lit up.
If this is the worst thing we have to worry about, Tony, is my sign not lighting up, then it's gonna be okay. We're gonna do all right.
You're all the star power. You're all the star shining that anybody needs, anyway, right?
I'm glad at least you figured that out by now.
Yeah.
Out of the basement. I had 2 20 clubs out of the basement, and then one speech at NPDA, and then 120 club here locally. So 4 gigs since I've left the house. So I'm pretty psyched to get back on it here. Full court press, as you know, come December, starting with MRAA and a bunch of training.
Yeah. It's tis the season to be training. Fa la 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 la. Hey, what do you think about what's your take on Christmas commercials? I think it's bullshit that I'm seeing Christmas commercials in October.
Wait, hang on. Define a Christmas commercial. Is it come to Home Depot for a sale, or is it fa la la like you were just saying?
It's going to be it's that you're looking at it's fa la la. There's the jingle bells. It's all those things.
Are you going to lump the Coca-Cola annual commercial with the polar bears wrestling with the bottle of Coca-Cola and the little baby polar bear drinking Coca-Cola?
Now, let me just.
No, I'm out. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm out. No,
you're out. I'm wrong. What do you mean? You want to?
Yeah,
see those,
I'm out on your. You were looking for consensus from me, and I think it's horseshit. I always want to see the polar bears drinking the Coca-Cola. I love everything about Christmas. I don't necessarily love the ads and the discounts because we haven't even made it through Black Friday and they're already pumping that out there. But no, I'm all for it. When I walk into a store, I want to hear Christmas music.
No. You're completely off base.
Dude,
you don't understand what I was asking.
Okay.
I'm saying the time, October.
And I'm saying I want it.
When do you want it to start? July?
I've had
June?
Christmas tree lights up for a week.
That's called being Mexican. I can't say that on this podcast.
Wow.
Or a cleaner version is you're just early, right? You're super early.
I'm
or
just
your
early.
Last name is Gonzalez.
Did you
don't
know?
Take them down all year.
Did you know that we had the Northern Lights shining in Colorado last night? We actually could see the Northern Lights. Did you know that and go outside?
Sam, you didn't have the Northern Lights, dude. I had the Northern Lights
you
up here.
clearly missed my
Colorado.
post as you're trying to capture somebody else's post and make it your own. But my Christmas tree lights were green and red last night, and the Northern Lights were green and red. And I'm like, yeah, you're welcome, neighborhood.
So
I like Christmas.
I love Christmas. I absolutely love Christmas. I love everything about Christmas. I just think, do you also notice, this has just turned into a rant, but have you also noticed that now, so you remember Black Friday. Black Friday was, we're all chilling after Thanksgiving. We're fat, dumb, and happy on the couch. And it started with, the women didn't have anything to do. We're sitting there watching football all fat and stupid and drunk. And the women are like, I'm not going to get fat, stupid, and watch football. I'm going to go shop. It didn't used to happen that way, right? Because they used to be closed. Well, then they started Black Friday when they started shopping the day after. And then it was during the day, right? Now I'm opening things in October that I can get the Black Friday discount in October. It's like everything is it's almost like they should just have Christmas 365 days a year.
Oh, okay. I'm scared to comment on anything you said. You started off with Mexicans and Christmas tree lights, talked about women not having anything to do at Thanksgiving, and I'm not thinking. I don't even know this guy on the podcast for anyone listening.
No, I didn't mean like they didn't have anything to do, but as we're just sitting there after we're done eating, they created Black Friday, right? To go out and just spend all kinds of money. And now Black Friday deals come in October. This is an old guy just waving his fist at the clouds.
You can't walk this back, Tony. It's already recorded. I'm all for it. You said I love everything about Christmas, and then you were going to say except for the early commercial. So you don't love everything about Christmas. For the record, I love everything about Christmas. You don't.
I don't think that's part of Christmas.
You don't think people celebrating Christmas on a TV commercial is part of Christmas? All right,
that's not cool. What I said. That is not what I said. Damn you, Dantzler.
Can we please get to the podcast?
God, you're exhausting. My God.
6 minutes. I'll never get back with Tony Gonzalez.
We're going to have to figure out a way to edit out the best.
We could just edit half of the screen out, and I'll just take the agenda and go.
Anyway, so how was your round of 20 clubs?
Well, my round's brief because I didn't get to all of them, but I got caught up with the people who filled in for me. Glow, Schooly, you took a Marine one for me, and it was great. It was really, once I got back into the flow of it, it was, there was quite a bit of optimism, although the numbers were boring, static maybe is the best word for it. There was a lot of optimism on what's coming, and quite frankly, I think we had a lot of new thinking, and we're gonna hit a few of these. How about you?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Epic.
Like
awesome.
Christmas.
No, because it was September and middle of October, so more like fall.
Touche.
More like fall, but no. Every one of my meetings was awesome. Was fantastic. The sentiments in them were positive. There was no. Just didn't seem like there was a lot of frustration in the fall round. Seemed like everybody was pretty happy. And everybody's ready for a solid Q4, and let's get ready for 2026.
I think that's fair. I say the numbers don't necessarily support the optimism just because, for motorcycle, power sports, new bike, new vehicle industry down 2% year over year. RVs up 1%, so that's good. That's a good indicator of want-based selling. Then Marine's down 8%. So Marine didn't have the catastrophic failure that we talked about that it could with that Wells Fargo data, but it's definitely got stung there as well. So I think going in this year, if people got their inventory right, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. Talk to me about sport bikes.
I love the fact that it's it's that category and side-by-sides are the only categories that are up year over year in the power sports industry. I don't love that they're the only. Hold on, I don't love that they're the only one up year over year. But I love the fact that the sport bike industry is up year over year, because we talked about the competitive dirt bike industry. This was last year, and it was up considerably, right? So we have all these new younger riders that this year started to play in the space. And then now with sport bikes, Sam, Tony, we are the generation of the sport bikes, right? But now there's all these little sport bikes. There's all these 250s and 400s and whatever. So these dirt bikers are now crossing over into the on-roads party, as I like to call it. And you got new ones coming out all the time, the new sport bikes. We really went through a lull without any sport bikes, and as a sport bike guy, I really like seeing all the new ones out there.
How many do you have right now?
Right, the second? 2?
Yeah.
2.
How many have you not
What do you
ridden?
consider?
How many have you not ridden of those sport bikes?
No, I've ridden everything in the garage.
I've ridden.
There's 7 bikes in the garage, and they've all been ridden, and 2 of them are sport bikes.
How many are getting ready to go in on trade?
Maybe 1. But I'm adding 1 to the fleet here before the end of the year. So
what are you getting?
I'm getting a CFMoto Ibex 450.
You've been wanting one of those for so long.
I have.
How long are you going to keep that, you think?
I think that'll be for an adventure bike in Colorado. I think that's going to be a great whip to have, just a light one that you can throw around, because I got the 890 and the 1290 in the garage right now, and those are so much fun. But there's only so many times those can fall over in one trip, and you're like, man, I got to pick this thing up again, 500 pounds.
Notice he didn't answer the question, because he didn't answer how long you would have that, and he also
through next summer.
Whip, and I don't even think he understands what the hell a whip is, but whatever. Dude,
it's definitely not the accessories you used to wear out on the town in college. So how about that?
Story. Okay, so let's kind of go through some lessons learned, and this first one's going to be shocking to everybody that listens to Garage Cast. It's going to be the first time you've probably heard this, which is kids have been in school for a long time. Fall round of 20 clubs is over. Christmas started 17 months ago, which tells us that we are getting ready to head into the winter months. And unless you are one of the more premier snowmobile dealers in the North, it means that it's a little bit slow over time for you. And we can show that in metrics, right? So number one thing that we should be doing right now, which should have started, honestly, probably sometime in October, is hiring and training. You agree?
Ruthless training in every single department that's out there. Everything that you're frustrated by that your team didn't get done this year. Oh, I don't know. Line items per ticket in the parts department, which I hope everybody enjoyed Sean Bracey in that last podcast we did with him. Great ideas, implementable, if that's a word, ideas that you could just take right now and throw them into practice. So, and it really, that goes hand in hand with, this all starts, Tony, because we get to our spring. We get to February and March, and we're in the middle of our sales managers academy, and we're like, how many of you need to hire people? And every hand goes up in the sales manager academy, and you're like, hey, when do you think you should be hiring the people that you're going to need on March 1st as it's February 15th in the middle of a meeting? And they're like, yeah, we back your way into that. Well, 30 days to get them up to speed. Okay, when do you think you need to place the ad and get them hired and everything? And the answer is now, which just complements the training of bringing new people in. If we can constantly be training our existing staff and complement the training of the new people coming in the door and roll them up into the same thing, it's a win for everybody. So big fans of training over the wintertime.
Yeah, you know what? I had a owner general manager show me their training schedule that they have put together, and that's another thing I think we should impress upon. The training, which fully agree. But is your training really that you come in, for 5, 6, 7 straight days, and we just, let's see, what are we gonna do today? I think today we're gonna let's do some desking and deals. Let's do some overcoming objections. Tomorrow, no, let's have a thorough schedule so that your people can see what they're going to be doing on a daily basis, so that you can get the source matter expert. Maybe there's just somebody that really crushes it on overcoming objections. Have them do a training. Are we thinking about having our parts department, our motor clothes gals, our pro shop coming into sales training.
Heavens no, Tony.
That would absolutely violate the siloing of the 5 profit centers, and stay away from my department, right? Yeah, just right. Are we having our sales department go into the service department and say, hey guys, let's talk about some unique ways that you're talking to your people when they come in, see if your greet's better than mine. That is a training program. So don't just go in there and say, I'm just going to train throughout the winter, because no, you're not, because it's typically not what we see. Have a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And you also mentioned having other people do it. If we honestly believe that every position in your dealership should be a sales position, selling the product of P&A, selling the product of hours, selling the product of labor or major units, it's a sales position first, then every single person you have should be capable of getting up in front of a room of people and having a conversation. Right. So don't let them back out and say, oh, I just do the parts department, I don't know how to get in front. No, you will. You're supposed to be a salesperson. That's going to help them on the showroom floor as it is. So training goes both ways, right? We're helping you not only with the content and getting you up to speed, but if I can have you train the rest of the team, you get comfortable in awkward situations, that's everything the greet is about. 2 total strangers.
Yeah. And you guys have heard me say this for decades now, which is the season starts tomorrow. Always be thinking the season starts tomorrow, which is, Sam talking about the management training academies and backing your way into hiring. Make sure that you're doing this appropriately so that you have the time to not only put the ads in, but you have the time to interview people and bring them on and have a really good onboarding process, because all of this costs a tremendous amount of money. Do it right the first time. Slow to hire, quick to fire, man.
Yep.
Let's talk about OEMs, dude. How about that?
Lots of conversation in our 20 clubs about OEMs. Good, bad, and otherwise, right?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 pretty major announcements that have happened recently.
Yeah.
Number one being HD. Why don't you talk about that?
Artie Stars, right? We all need a name like that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, on stage 1, Artie Stars, right?
That's a stripper, Sam, that intro.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a different career I had. I am so excited about this. We had one of our 20 club group dinners at Top Golf. And for those listening who don't know the name Artie Stars, he's the former CEO of Top Golf, which was the place that you go. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a golfing place. No, it's a drinking place where you can swing a club and play golf, right? It's like if you went to Dave & Buster's and played that virtual game of golf. This is like the whole nother level. And I'd never been.
Alley.
I'd never been. And
You've never been to a Top Golf?
Never been to one, and I had a great time. Our whole crew had a great time. We took a picture. We sent it to Artie Star. He was all psyched about it, right? Like, can't believe you're there, and, looking for good things from Harley in the future. So that was really fun, and I would tell you the consensus from the people that I've talked to in the Harley space, there is a tremendous amount of excitement that that Artie is listening. He's listening to the dealers, and he's understanding that Harley's job is to make wonderful motorcycles and let the dealers do the selling of it. So I was very impressed with the feedback I got on Artie. How about you?
Same thing. I'm probably not as hyped up as you are. I mean, that was like doing cartwheels for Artie Stars. I like that. But
I love the name.
Yeah, I know that is
not like Tony Gonzalez. I mean, come on,
Tony Gonzalez. Come on. All the dealers that I've talked to say the same thing, which is it feels good to be able to approach somebody, have them talk to you, listen to you. So I think that this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes forward, right? And the way that I explained it to my 20 club was he is right now in that politicking phase of kissing babies, shaking hands, making sure that the campaign goes very well. And then he takes office, and we have to actually make sure that the rubber meets the road. And all the things that he's telling all the dealers sounds super positive. So I'm really excited to see, because it is a Harley body that for the past 5 years has just been beaten and battered and thrown in the corner. So I'm psyched to have him here for sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Indian?
Well, Indian was sold to Carrollwood LP, and in talking to some of the people over there in Indian, honestly, they're super excited. The number 2 guy there, Joel Harmon with Polaris, is going over to Indian, now owned by Carrollwood LP. And in talking to our dealers that hold Indian as well, I would say for the most part, they're excited that it kind of broke away from Polaris. Not that they were necessarily unhappy with Polaris, but you now have somebody their sole focus is Indian motorcycles, and they're really excited to see what Carrollwood LP can do. Helmed obviously by Kennedy from Harley-Davidson fame of all those years. So I mean, they have some pretty key players, and from my understanding, 90 to 95% of Indian that was under Polaris has made the complete wholesale change over to Indian only brand. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as well.
We had really interesting feedback in our Garage One group, which is the largest volume 20 club that we have. And it was all surrounding, would you pick them up? Would you add them to the fleet? Would you put them under the roof? Because to your point, you got Mike Kennedy over there. Are you kidding me? Joel Harmon. If you know these guys, you know that they're very good at what they do. And I think it's going to be impressive to be in a standalone position to see what they're capable of doing. So a lot of good feedback. It was mostly all positive. The occasional person of, well, Indians never made money and Victory never made money and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, the Victory part of that is true, but c'est la vie. I think Indian making a move to its own is going to be a good thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. You know what? I really want Indian to succeed because it has just been this brand that was so iconic for so many years. And then it just seems like it's just been hopscotched all over the place as this redheaded stepchild, and I really would love to see it take off and be a player in that big American Irons segment.
So I sent Steve Heese a text, and if you remember, Steve Heese and Stephen Julius were the two that bought Indian and brought it, resurrected it back. Stelican was the name of the company. We had those guys on our podcast. I sent him a text. I'm like, you in the market, dude? He's like, you never know, dude. We'll see what happens to pricing. So I don't know how he might jump in the fray, but it'd be pretty funny if he did.
Kawasaki was a huge player in our state of the industry because it basically was taking over the number 2 spot for actually 2 or 3 quarters now, doing really well. It was Honda, and then it was Kawasaki as far as market share goes. Dealers were super happy with his performance. What were you hearing?
Yeah, same thing. People love Kawasaki. They've been gaining in market share, and it's clear that they went after market share in this last round. Again, much like Honda did previously with small displacement units. So they're chasing it down. They're putting a bunch of dealer incentives, a bunch of customer incentives on that. And so that's hurting the margin side of the fence. So they're gaining in popularity and market share, but I don't know that dealers are too thrilled about the margin compression that we continue to see.
Yeah, it's funny to watch how that plays out when a manufacturer decides the move that they're going to make on the chessboard. When they decide that, yeah, I'm going to take over some market share. I'm going to get the name out there in hopes that it's going to continue to grow and pay off down the road. So, talk to me about Norton.
Dude, let's talk about Norton and CFMoto because they're all over social media because EICMA just happened. EICMA over there in, I think it's Milan. You'd think I'd know that. You'd think I would have been to that show by now, but I have not been to it. All the new models, all the new releases. I've been all over watching YouTube videos for the past 2 weeks of like all the products that are out. And Norton, holy cow. We had Stephen Ratt on the podcast from Norton. What was that? 3 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that.
Something like a few weeks
something
ago.
I never heard. And it's hard not to get excited with Steve because his Ducati background and playing both sides of the fence as a dealer and then back in the manufacturing. And he said, just wait and see what comes out. And what came out was not only what you think, right? Norton Commando style bikes, but amazing sport bikes, amazing naked sport bikes, amazing adventure motorcycles and different levels of adventure motorcycles. So that was just really cool to see that a brand coming out doing something completely different. It's kind of like Triumph when they jumped into dirt bikes, whether you like their dirt bikes or not, just doing something completely different. That was pretty fun. And then CFMoto had the bike at the show, Tony, and it was a super bike. It was 1,000-liter super bike to go head to head with all the other brands out there. And, the trend these days is that aerodynamic wing on the front of it that this one, what is it, actuates? Is that the fancy word for the pilots up there when the wing flaps are going back and forth because of the wind and the resistance and the drag? So it measures you in the turn as much force as on the front of the nose of the bike. And so just cool to see something like that from CFMoto. And I want to know your opinion of CFMoto because we're hearing like their product is excellent. Their product and their margins are excellent. The mothership and working with them and getting the inventory, getting the P&A and stuff like that has been a bit clunky. So the hope is that the dealership and the distribution model is going to catch up to the quality of the product. Are you hearing that too?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dealers are very happy with CFMoto. They're happy with the product that they sell. They're happy with the margins that they make on it. But yeah, they do have a few problems on the back end of things. But I definitely know in seeing a bunch of posts from the show that they had over in China and some of the dealers that we know that went over there, super impressive. And what they're doing towards the future is like insane. And what I got out of that whole thing is I'm not sure if you heard Dantzler like a kid opening up Legos on Christmas. I think we all know when that leader bike comes out that's going to be in the garage for sure.
Well, I told you when Steve was on the podcast for Norton that my name was already on the list to inform me when it was available. That was 4 months ago. So yeah, I think it's a good bet.
Slingshot 3-wheelers. That was a shocking surprise to me that Indian went its separate way and Polaris kept 3-wheel Slingshot. Can-Am, Spider. They're all, some dealers, they've told me in their 20 clubs, no, man, I still kick ass with this and we love it. But for the most part, dealers are, they're not selling a whole ton of them. And I'm sure there's dealerships out there that are, but 3-wheel seems to definitely not be plateauing. I think it's waning a little bit.
It's definitely waning. Yeah. Particularly Slingshots. The word on the street was that the Slingshots, like, is anybody even selling them? We had one guy in the room that was selling Slingshots still. So I think anyone who wanted one has one. I hope I'm wrong, but not the same with BRP Spiders. Those 3-wheelers tend to keep moving. So I do want to make one comment before we get off OEMs here on the marine industry. Marine has been honestly, I've been impressed by the marine as far as not pushing dealers to take on excess inventory. And we brought that up on this podcast before, but certain brands are really coming to the forefront relative to that. Obviously, Barletta has been great at that. Centurion Boats has been great at that. And Sea Ray, we have our private Sea Ray group, and the industry is paying attention to what has been going on with Sea Ray, namely Sea Ray owned by Brunswick, 18 different boat brands under the Brunswick umbrella, which Sea Ray is one of them. And so Rich Regal from Sea Ray, who you and I know very well, we've had him on the podcast. They have tapped Rich to take the systematic approach to how they're running that division, whether it's how do they get the boats to the dealers or how do we deal with warranty and stuff like that. They are further behind the power sports industry, and a lot of them operate on whatever system the person in charge is running, as opposed to this is the way we do it. We do it this way every single time. So they've tapped Rich to go out to all the other brands and bring them along for the ride. The first one being Boston Whaler. I think we're going to see some good stuff coming from. So it's cool to see the marine industry stepping away from some of the archaic ways that they've done business and really stepping into a system of getting the dealers what they need when they need it. It's been cool to watch that in the marine side.
What game are you playing? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I just did a online training for all of our members on the top 10 versus the national average in the country or national norm, and the difference and the delta between them. And there's a lot of talking points inside that, because there's a lot of things the top 10 are doing by box in the composite that's worse than the national average, right? Yeah. It's very interesting to see. I would suggest that everybody listening, we have that available if you guys want to see that presentation.
Well, remember the one thing before you go on is when we put in benchmarks or we put in the national top 10 based off of contribution by department, that was one of our worries. And again, it could be, I'm just using just hypotheticals here, is, top 10% could be crushing it in side-by-sides because they're losing money on dirt bikes, right? Like all top 10. Yeah, right? So we knew that might be something that dealers were going to have to look at, is they're losing in some places.
So here's one to wet the whistle, if you will. The top 10, and this is in the power sports and Harley and boating and all the way across the board. The transactional benchmark of number of units delivered per transaction, the top 10 trends worse than the national norm. The benchmark is what you see next to that number in that box, where people are like, oh man, you could get to that number and you didn't, that's this many units you didn't sell. And what we're finding out, which you bring up the game, what game are you playing? I think everybody thinks, well, I'm playing want-based retailing with boats or motorcycles. That's the game I'm playing. But some of you have over-ordered and you're being controlled by your inventory. You have too much obsolescence, therefore you have too much flooring, and you have to take every possible deal you can to get out from under this. Well, what does that mean? It typically means smaller margins. You're chasing the transactional ratios to move as many products as you can. The smaller margins mean less revenue coming in, which means your payroll as a percent of sales is higher than what it's showing, right? So there are so many games that are being played right now by dealers who are selling the exact same thing. I just want to know if you, the general manager, know the game you're playing, and then does the team know what winning looks like with that game you're playing? Are you chasing transactions to move units? Are you holding on to margins because you're in a really good inventory situation? You don't have any flooring that you're paying for? What is the game that's being played? And I think that's something that really is starting to resonate with a lot of our dealers right now.
Yeah, for sure. Very interesting take on that one. At least through my fall rounds of meetings, tariffs were headlines, but they are not negatively affecting dealerships at Main Street USA. Again,
exactly.
There may be some things here and there, some spotty things that are affecting dealers, but the overarching theme was that tariffs are, whatever. We're moving on to different things. Definitely still a puzzle that is almost impossible to put together, is what it is. I don't have dealers complaining about it. That's the last thing they're complaining about right now.
Hey gang, Sam Dantzler here from GarageCast. I want to talk to you a little bit about our General Manager Training Academy, or GMTA, as we have affectionately named it. Used to be called DCS, Dealer Candidate School. A little bit of history today. A little bit of history. It was called Dealer Candidate School because back in 1998, when the first one actually started, there were a lot of sons and daughters who wanted to take the business over from their father or mom, and they weren't ready, quite frankly. You'd have people going to Ed Lemko saying, my kid is wanting to take the business and my kid is nowhere near ready. Can you help my kid get ready? So we created the Dealer Candidate School for that to happen. I say I wasn't part of the organization then. I came on in 2000, but that DCS class consisted of Ed sitting around with a composite that was sitting around with young people, sons and daughters of their parents who were clients of ours, and Ed yelling at them about the composite for 2 days. And then they come back and they get 2 more days of yelling, and they'd come back one more time and get 2 more days of yelling. And then they were qualified to be a dealer candidate. Well, a lot of us from a company called the Friedman Group, we came into the organization in 99. Tom Post, Kim Fuquay, if you know that name, Barbara Quarles, myself, we all came from the Friedman Group, which is a retail sales training company. And we know that, look, you can preach the numbers all day long, but if you can't get somebody to manage their staff and get them engaged and wanting to put the process in place, it's never going to work, right? So Barbara Quarles and I, with little sticky notes on the door of the office we started rebuilding the program, and we said, well, this is great. This composite review is great, but the fact of the matter is we need core management training. So that second arm got added. This was back in 2000, 2001. And then Tony comes on board with a history in the fire department. Schooley comes on board with a history in the fire department. And all of a sudden we start training modules like the normalization of deviance. We start having massive leadership components that are added to this, right? So now we have the management of people. How do you lead a team? And how do you understand what's happening inside the department using the metrics, and how do you move forward? Our Dealer Candidate School, now called GMTA, has come a very, very long way. So if you have an employee that you think might be good for going to that next level of being a GM, they may be deficient in one of those 3 arms, I promise you this is the class for them. It's our premier product. Go to info@garagecomposites.com or schooly@garagecomposites.com and get yourself signed up. It's going to kick off in February, and we'll see you there. I got one more, Tony, and then I think we should jump into the departments, and we could probably go pretty fast through some of the departments. A lot of these are repeats. But the last one I had is just building community. We have heard that a lot from digital lead providers that are out there. I have personally seen some of the strongest players in the industry on the Harley, the Metric, and the Marine. They're very entrenched in building community, as in the sales come after the community event comes. And I'm taken back to Ed Lemko always talking about, are you running a sale or are you running an event? Are you trying to sell some boats or some motorcycles? Is this a customer appreciation event for the community and just to bring people in and say thank you, right? The more of those we do on the community side, the more of these boats we end up selling. But when everything's a sale, then you're just trying to take my money as opposed to really embracing and enjoying the community. So all kinds of stories about community events driving traffic to the showroom floor I thought were very good.
Yeah. Hey, your next one on digital, this may be some of what dealers are saying. I disagree with this one, and I think this will be a good compare and contrast on this one. So, digital, talk to me about it.
Several people who are doing very well, and by very well, I mean you look at the digital traffic log on the top left-hand corner of anyone's composite, and the ones that are getting more people engaged and appointments set on the showroom floor, they all have their independent BDCs. They have a dedicated team, I don't care what you call it, business development center or internet salespeople, as in not the major unit salespeople on the showroom floor. They have someone else in the dealership tending to those digital leads to get the appointments, to get the person in the door. And we've figured out, well, I think we figured out, certainly these dealers who are doing very well have figured out that it is a different personality type to respond to this many digital leads just to try to get them in the door than it is once they're in the door to get them through the entire sales process. So if you're going to chase the or you chase the digital leads, I think you need separate people doing that. And I've said that for several years now.
Yeah, I think it's an accountability issue and a process issue and a management issue. I still to this day, and I go back and I look at just even the in-store traffic logs and see how foobar they can be in-store, right? And then I go and I look at the digital side of life, and they're all foobar too. I mean, at the end of the day, our digital leads are absolute crap. Or I shouldn't say the leads. Let's call it the interaction. And it's because the
engagement.
Yeah. I just don't feel that sales managers are really holding their people accountable to outreach. Now, there is a point in my mind, honestly, when you start getting an operation that is 600, 800, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 units a year. Yeah, I mean, you're a monster, right? And there's so many things in play, but those mom and pop dealerships, I would really love to see managers really start to train on what a good outreach looks like via email, via text, via video. And I also agree with you when you say that, yeah, there is a different personality to somebody that's on a phone or typing and so on and so forth versus in person doing this. And that's slowly waning when it comes to people coming in and wanting to interact in that manner. But I still believe a large portion of this is accountability by the sales managers and by the general managers.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Let's go to the sales department.
Yeah. The big one with all of our dealers in this round was the right mix moving forward. It started in the Harley space, but it trickled over into the metric space as well. So by the right mix, obviously with Harley, you talk about touring mix versus the, some of the smaller bikes that are out there. The right mix of new to use is one that we talk about all the time. And then when you talk about the categories, you have so many dealers that are still just buried on the metric side with side-by-sides. That's another one that's just like, do you really need to order more side-by-sides? I mean, how many do you need? You're paying so much juice on every one you still have on the showroom floor. So taking control of your inventory before it gets to the showroom floor and not reacting to it once it's there. And again, another edism, control your inventory or it will control you in the example that I just gave you guys between the top 10 and the national average.
Yeah. Another huge theme in the 20 clubs that I was dealing with was flooring. Did you see that as well?
I did. It's still astronomical.
It's staggering how much money dealerships are losing because of flooring costs, high flooring costs, depending on where you're putting it once it comes off of OEM and whatnot. And that leads into a conversation is who approves, who controls that flooring? Is it the sales manager? Is it the owner? Is it the GM? Because those numbers, I mean, if you start looking at some of these programs, it's just like any credit card. Yeah, I give you 0% over 0 years until you don't make a payment, and then it jumps up to 28.99%. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They go off the charts on some of these floorings, and dealers are working twice as hard to make no money if your flooring is just eating away at you.
Yeah, it's I had this teed up and I didn't pull it up on my screen. If you give me 1 second, Steve Larson, who's the chairman of our Garage 20 or 21. He 13. Came up with, oh yeah, it used to be Garage 21. It used to be 20.
Dude,
that's funny.
He's losing his mind.
I might be. All right, here it is. I got it right here. And he put together a spreadsheet of everybody in the room saying, okay, your gross margin on the unit is this. What it costs you to sell each motorcycle is this, right? And what it actually cost you. Therefore, your contribution per unit sold on every motorcycle is this. So we're talking Harley numbers, right? So if you just take you take what you made on the motorcycle and then you take out the per unit sold on that bike for flooring and for advertising and direct cost and payroll, you've got everything in the room from a high of $44.09 per unit in contribution. And then it goes down to $19.74 per unit in contribution. And as most of the listeners can imagine, a lot of that is coming from the flooring costs that are on there. But it's still a high payroll, a high flooring, a high whatever, and a low margin to complement it. Because those dealers, Tony, who are chasing the transactional number, and we have been big proponents of chasing the transactional numbers. But when you look at the top 10% of what's actually making the money, it's being in a healthy position to actually say no every now and again to the deals you don't want. But if you're in a position where you have to take every single deal, you're going to start with a low margin and then a high flooring number inside of that. And if your payroll is guaranteed instead of incentive based, you're going to end up with $1,900 on a Harley per unit on average versus $4,000 a click. It's night and day when you see a spreadsheet like this. So just some cool stuff and a different way to look at.
Talk about ACV. This one's yours.
Yeah. Constantly reevaluating ACV on your pre-owned bikes and adjust. Looking at that every week. Looking at the bikes that are on your floor every single week, because if they're not moving, we have great conversations about this with the guys from the NPA, the National Powersports Auction, right? Yep. So if they're not moving, you need to adjust that number down. And you're going to take, when you take a bike in at a really good number or a boat in at a really good number, take some of that and move it to the one that's been sitting in your inventory for 6 months that needs to go away. Because sales manager, nobody gets excited about the boat or the motorcycle that's a mini that nobody gets paid off of. So you constantly got to be pushing that down because the product just keeps getting older and older. We're so worried about the juice that we're paying on the new stuff that we're not paying attention to the pre-owned right now. So constantly reevaluating ACV and adjusting accordingly. Some guys are doing it weekly on the adjust. I think you need to look at it weekly and then adjust monthly. But at some point, just like your product and parts and accessories department, you're going to mark it down until such a point where it goes away so that we don't end up with a bunch of obsolescence. Treat your pre-owned inventory the very same way.
Another theme in a lot of my 20 clubs, and I know everybody has been talking about this, is cabbed models for UTVs are becoming way more important than open airs, which is cool, and it's bad as well, because this kind of goes back to that old Harley playbook, which is, dealers used to be able to gussy up a side-by-side with all kinds of stuff. And it is cool that now models are coming to market with all the stuff and the air conditioning and the heating and all these things, but that goes into a price that is a lower margin as well. So that's kind of a problem. While the full cab, full-blown models are awesome and they are more important, and who is going to buy a side-by-side that is complete open air with nothing on it, right? It is slowly taking away some of the dealer's ability to accessorize the vehicle at the time of sale.
Yeah, I'm guessing, Tony, it's taking that price tag up too, though. So maybe less margin, more dollars.
Yeah, it is taking up the price more, but when you're looking at a lot of these models, it's just that you can jack the price up. The dealer is still just not making as much money as they probably could do. And, that also takes away certain things like customized roofs, customized lighting. I see it both ways. It's not a horrible thing, but I'm sure if you were to ask dealers, would you rather be able to accessorize it yourself, which means the parts department actually has to come and kick some serious ass at the time of sale, or would you have it all included at the margin that the manufacturer determines you should make? I don't know. We'll see.
Dirty 30.
30. Yeah.
Dirty 30 is still alive. That's a creation of Jordan Schoolmeister or Schoolie. Came out of our management training academy. Find the top 30 models that you have on the showroom floor. Obviously, you don't need 30 if you're a lower volume dealer, but take the top 30 models and put it into a game so your staff can play the game, that they're going to win the game and they're going to get paid. When we move these, if they're on the Dirty 30 list, you're going to get paid and you're going to earn some points to win this particular game. And then you just keep refreshing that list. If it's not part of a game and they're not incentivized to do it, it's out of sight, out of mind. So Dirty 30 still alive and kicking in both power sports and the marine space.
Did you hear a lot about placer data in your HC20 clubs?
We did.
Versus swing counter. I didn't hear a lot of it.
Our guys want to replace the swing counter with the placer data. So the placer data, Tony, is in the Harley space only. It's only in Harley. It's a metric that Harley has been tracking internally that dealers can access if they ask for it. They have to ask their dealer reps for it. It's not a report that they can run. But if they have it, it really does track the time that customers have been in the store. And when you mirror it, Stephen Kirkland, when you mirror that,
Stephen Kirkland, you're bringing Stephen Kirkland into this conversation.
Yeah, because he brought a chart in where he took his 2 stores and he mirrored the placer data for 5 years compared to the actual number of units that were sold and some of the other metrics he had. And it's actually a really good metric. Swing counters, as we all know, are great for your store to measure your performance year over year and who's coming in your door. But depending on how you track it and how many doors you got a counter on, it's not meant to universally compare numbers. This may be that trick for us in the Harley space. So more to come on placer data.
Tex Harley. Good man.
Yeah. Good man.
He's doing well. Yeah. Continue forward value trades from average time refurb takes to hit the floor. And this is another one of those things that, when the guys from NPA, we were talking about this, it's small little things sometimes that blow your mind. Like, of course, man, you got to understand where that thing will be in 10 days if you're that good, in 30 days if you're not, in 45 if you're pretty much right there with the market. And people always scoff at me when I'm like, yeah, like 45 to 60 days. And they're like, you're out of your mind. That's just absolutely no. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think yours is? Well, we take it in and then it and I'm like, well, I guess maybe 30 to 40 could possibly. Yeah. You got to account for that when you're taking that thing in.
Especially if you're bouncing between seasons, right? If you're taking that thing in, you're giving them what the book says it's worth in August, and all of a sudden you're rolling in September. It's getting cold outside. It's a different ball game.
Yeah. Talk to me
Tony,
about
that next one
contribution.
Yeah, that was the title of the thing I just talked about from Steve Larson. Major unit contribution realization. Realizing what the contribution per unit is inside of your store and really track it. And the question, is it worth it, had to do with, is it worth chasing all the transactions out there and doing all that work with all those staffing people, right? Just to get margins that aren't there, and you're making half of what some other guys are making on a bike. Is it worth it? And maybe it is, but again, back to what game are we playing? Here's one more I give you before the sales department finishes up, which is when the book value is about to change, and I always go back to Ed, throw the book away. It's only about what can it sell for on my showroom today. That's what the number should be. But before the book value changes, because everybody's using some version of a book value to put a number on it, go back and use the prior year. Look at that model from the prior year and put that value on it. Okay. If you know the book change is coming, before it changes, just go ahead and put last year's number on whatever that model happens to be. I thought that was a great way to get in front of some things.
I wonder how they account for, interesting. Never heard of that one.
It's just like taking 500 off of this trade in and putting it over there, right? We're going to move some money around. So if I need to bump that number down to whatever it is, or if I'm taking it that day of, I'm going to give a number. I'm certainly going to start a number that's far less than what it's telling me today if I know the book's going to change.
Front end, F&I, the new front end, due to margin compression across quite a few brands, if not all brands. Are you rehashing all deals, knowing your lenders? There are a lot of dealerships out there that are maybe taking less money on the deal and coming around the backside and getting the $1,400 to $1,800 per unit sold in metric and getting the $2,000, $2,600 in the Harley space. And then the percentages in the marine space. But yeah, we had a dealer, that used the opposite of that, Sam, which is like, I have super high front end grosses on my major units, and I'll be okay with taking a little less money in the F&I off. So it does work both ways, but I have heard that F&I is a game I'm playing because I can get that money. The only thing that concerns me about that strategy is cancelable products. You know what I mean? So,
True, but you also have peace of mind products there as well. So if I can get out of the door with one number, and that one number is lower dollars on a machine and more of those products on the back that give me peace of mind, and it's the same number as if you charge me a high number on the machines, and then I wouldn't have the products, right? So as a consumer, yeah, it's cancelable. Some of them are cancelable, but I do think it's a new front end game. Tony Audino was pitching this. Tony from Clausen's. He's been on our podcast as well, but he was talking about that. That's the game. It's as OEMs continue to compress margins. We talked about that with Kawasaki earlier here in the podcast. Or put incentive plans in place that used to be guaranteed holdback plans, right? And those margins obviously compress when we don't hit those numbers. F&I has become the new game to play. And it can be very profitable. To your point, I hope some of the Hope some people heard that. Tony said 1,400 to 1,600 in the metric space. That is a real per unit sold number that's out there right now. Okay. So you said 2 to 225 in Harley. We've got guys upwards of $3,000 in the Harley space too. And Marine, I love you. We got to get you past the 3% mark in F&I. But
Audino, F&I is the new Mars. That sounds like a car guy, man. He's talking about F&I and oil changes probably, isn't he, over there?
Well, Tony, the only other thing I had was something that we've talked about on the podcast before, which is have the customer story, right? Be ready to rehash every single deal and have that customer story ready to go to combat the lender so you can have something to lean on. They typically will give you more if you go back on all those deals.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Parts and accessories.
Woohoo, your favorite.
I love parts and accessories. I do love parts and accessories. Showrooming. Talk to me about that, dude.
Well, I think Jolene had a great video this round of state of the industry for everybody. But the idea of showrooming is that I'm going to go into your store, try it on, look at it, see how it fits, see if it's the right material. Do I really want that climb gear? Whatever it is, test out the all the flotation devices that I'm going to go ski behind that boat and whatever it happens to be. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to order it online. That's showrooming, right? I'm going to use you for the showroom, and then I'm going to leave and try to find it cheaper out there. And so Jolene talked about preventing showrooming, and that was a big topic of conversation in several of my groups about how do we actually do that. And I'm just like, this is everything we teach. How do you do that? You engage with a person. You have a great time with them. A lot of people feel guilty if you're spending all your time with them and having a great time when they're going to turn around and order it online. So you simply have to slow down the process, have a sales process in every department, and remember the gross, as in profit, is in the greet. It's not in the close. It's in the greet. It's in the engagement at the service writer's desk, as opposed to looking your head up and going, who's next? See, that greet sucks. And you going out there and telling me how cool the boat is that I just pulled up on the trailer is awesome. That's a better greet, right? So we got to spend time in the front end of the sale. That's all it is. But I want to stop people from using your showroom as a showroom and then not buying from you.
Yeah. And everything that Sam said should be our first blush, our second blush. We should be trying to create a really great experience in there. We have dealerships now there that are actually have signage up and are training people to say, listen, can we match the deal if you're going to go away to buy this? How about we order it here and I'll have it delivered here. I'll let you come pick it up. You can try it on here in the dressing room, whatever. We have dealerships because that is a real part of the problem now. There are people that they're just going to use your dealership to come and look at it, try it on, and they're going to leave and they're going to go spend online. Are we doing anything to train our people in those departments to try and overcome that objection other than, well, fine, screw you then. I guess you're leaving. That's not the answer. The answer is, what would it take for me to earn your business right now? Well, nothing. I can have this delivered to my house. What if you got to try and do something, right? Because that is the world we live in.
Yeah, something. Seems kind of silly. You been talking about QR codes?
Yeah, QR codes around the dealership for Google reviews. We should be asking for these. If you look at dealerships, you look at almost a lot of dealerships and a lot of businesses, period, are not asking for the Google review, which don't get in the habit of not asking for good reviews, because then the only reviews you're going to get are bad reviews. A lot of people don't give a review until they're pissed off. So we should be asking for it. Not only in departments, in the F&I office, we should be asking for the review, and we should put QR codes up to make it super simple for the customer to go and drop a Google review to the dealership.
Well, that's just it, Tony. If you're having a moment with a person on the showroom floor and you're having a really good experience and you're like, hey man, I really appreciate that. If you want, scan that code for me and we'd sure love to have your Google review. We don't get enough of them. If I'm in the moment with a person on your showroom floor having a great time, I'm going to have no problem going, yeah, no problem, man. This is great. So post them around. Let people use them.
Time your ticket to ride or your dealership tour or whatever it is that you're doing. You walk around the dealership after the close of a major unit or a boat or whatever to remove that customer friction from wanting to leave.
Yeah, it's funny. That's the first time I'd ever heard that, to time it. Now we've talked about making it mandatory, right? So every department you go to, the customer signs off, or it's a poker run or whatever it happens to be, or at least the person behind the counter can sign it off and saying, okay, Sally came over here with this customer on this bike and we tried to attempt to put something on it and nothing got put on it, or everything got put on it, whatever. We sign off, so there's some accountability. But all of a sudden we were getting bad Google reviews out of one of our dealers out there, and he's like, what I realized is that it was taking far too long for that process to happen, and the customer was getting mad and they wanted to leave. They were super excited in the front end of the process, and then by the time they got through all the departments, they're just like, look, I'm literally just ready to get out of here, and then they go and they give a bad review. So start putting a timer on that and say, what is a reasonable amount of time? And then if it exceeds the time, is it because we sold them everything and they were having a great time? Or was it because our people weren't available in those different departments? Sounds simple, but when you get bad reviews and a customer that doesn't want to come back, it's not simple anymore. Now it's a problem.
I think two things here. I think one, what is an ideal time to do a dealership tour? And I'm, save for the time when I'm really building a bike in the parts department, right? Or I'm in the pro shop and I'm doing all kinds of add-ons and additions. What's a good time on that? Because that could take over an hour, but I do see that maybe 30 minutes is a good time to get through all the departments and back to F&I. And then I do hit on what you said, which is if I'm having a really damn good time and I just bought something really super cool, I'm pretty okay with let's slow this down. And so yeah, I'm wondering in my head what that is.
It's just having a baseline. I think all you have to do is watch it for a week, and you're going to have a baseline inside the store. And then you work towards, okay, was that acceptable? Does that work? That's a great quote. That last one right there. Yeah. Bad CSI is not typically from the sales department. That's not where your bad CSI.
I didn't say that, parts department.
That's why I jumped in front of you right there. Look, Tony's saying parts department sucks again. No, but it typically doesn't come. It doesn't come from the selling departments that are trained to engage people. It comes from the clerking departments that are there to fill your order to repair your boat, fill your order to go get your part, fill your order to get you a new helmet. They're there to fill the order. That's where the bad experiences come from, because they're just there to do the minimum amount of work. And I know people hate hearing that who are in those departments, and I'm not saying it's everybody, but CSI scores, bad ones, typically don't come from the sales department.
Yeah. Let's jump into the service department. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to circle back on it because we dedicated an entire episode to this. Told all my 20 clubs this, which is service proactivity. We should have started this sometime at the end of August or September, I told you, which is you should start organizing your calendar for this time right now. You should already have customers that are coming in because you went out and got them to come in, not because they're like, oh, it's frickin' the middle of November, I should get on my motorcycle and bring it into the motorcycle dealership, because that really doesn't happen. You should have started long ago. If you have not, and we're in November now, you should double back and get on top of this right away when you're listening to this episode. So proactivity in the service department, jump on it. This is not the first time you've heard this.
Yeah, how are we causing work during the summer months? That's what Tony was saying. In the marine business, we had Tom Irwin on talking about in the marine work. He said, look, the success of our spring is solely dependent on the work we do in the fall. All the work to get the boats in, to get them in the right order so we can get all the work done, or winterization or whatever. All of the work we do in the fall makes our spring or breaks our spring. And I think we think about it as a one-off motorcycle coming to the service department, but it can be an absolute campaign. You can go through your priority maintenance customers and cause them to come back in. If you're short-sighted, you think, well, I don't want them to redeem the money. Well, you're missing the point that when they're redeeming the money, they're on the showroom floor looking at the new motorcycle or boat or, all the accessories they can put on their ATV or UTV. So what are we doing to cause activity into the service department? Tony, I'm going to take that third one there, because that's me personally, that pickup during the winter months. And I've mentioned that on the podcast before. Guys, if you want to have activity during the winter months, offer to come get it out of my garage, whatever it happens to be. And it doesn't
Let me ask you a question.
Here we go.
So I fully agree with you on this. Even though Christmas should not start until after Thanksgiving, I agree with what you're saying right now, which is, let me ask you, if they said, hey, Sam, and you weren't trying to poach from your local dealer and save all kinds of money and rip them off, hey, Sam, we'll come pick it up for $50. What would you say?
What depends on what I want them to do. I'd say, yeah.
Whatever. Look, Sam, you don't have to worry about shit. I'll come get your bike. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll have it back in the garage for you by Thursday.
Yeah. What are you
too.
getting at? I would absolutely say my point is
for a price or whatever. Yeah, I'm in.
My point is last winter, I had my local dealership coming to get a bike, and when they'd come to get one, they'd take it to the shop and they'd bring it back and get another one, and take it to the shop and bring it back and get another one. Because there's stuff I want to do to all of them, but it's a total pain in the ass for me to figure out how to get down there, leave it with you guys. I don't know. So I'm talking to them about what I want to do to the next bike while this other one is on their lift. And I ended up doing a ton more work than I've ever done with them over this past winter because I didn't have to deal with it. Right. And I tip the driver every single time. I'm happy to do it because it really saves a lot of pain and angst on my part, just getting it there. And your customers are no different. It's over there. It's in the garage. The boat is over there, but nobody's going swimming because the lake's 40 degrees. And cool. If we came and got it, could we get some work done? Sure. Come on. It's a big one. Free pickup, and possibly delivery for the winter months.
Do they charge you at all?
No.
But if they did, would you still?
I'd pay. Yeah, I'd pay for $50. I'd do it. You charge me $200. I'd be not for a motorcycle. It's silly. You want to charge me $50 to come get it? Yeah, come, please.
So this is a 6 of one, half dozen the other. Some dealerships are like, nope, I will absolutely do it for free. Cool, right on, do it.
Yeah.
Also, you could also say it's typically a $50 each way to your house, Sam, because you're kind of far away from us. I'll meet you halfway, and I'll pick up and deliver for $50. How does that sound? All day long. And that goes back to the service proactivity. The only reason you have to call, hey, Sam, curious to know, man, that ABC 123 that you have, I'm sure you rode that probably a little more than the other ones, probably could use an oil change. What do you say I come pick it up and get that done for you? Boom. What's the worst thing he can say? No. If I asked 10 customers and 90% of them said no, you still get one. That's one more than you had. And that's there's so many ways that you can go about doing that. And there's going to be a lot of people that tell you to pound sand. I absolutely don't want you to come get my motorcycle, but there's going to be a lot of people that do.
And they are going to take it.
I'm out of town all the time. I don't want to bring that thing in. I don't want to deal with any part of it. Just get it done.
Hang on. I'm going to give you a number because you're talking about trying to put. Oh, I clearly moved it. I was going to try to snag the obsolescence or the lost labor while we're talking. And I looked at the marine lost labor on the presentation yesterday about top 10 versus national average. And I looked at the metric number, and then I looked at the Harley number, which is several $100,000 of lost labor. And then I looked at the marine number, which was over $700,000 of lost labor. And you're worried about the cost to send a driver to my house. I'm trying to put some work into your store as a customer, and you're saying no because the cost of the driver. Think it through, gang. Look at your lost labor line and say, does it make sense?
How about this, dude? I told this to a couple of my 20 clubs, so there's a lot of people that haven't heard this story, but recently just bought a Mercedes-Benz.
Good for you. The toy one or the actual one?
Yeah,
like a real
toy
one.
We'll just call it a toy one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, people don't believe me all the time when I say this. I buy priority maintenance on almost every single thing I purchase. Cars, side-by-sides, the whole 9 yards. About 3 weeks ago, I was out of town. I was at Garage 2, I believe, and I needed to have something fixed in this little thing where you stash stuff like a glove box in between the two seats, and they also needed to do some warranty work. And they're texting me, hey, curious to know, when can you? And I'm like, hey, I'm out of town. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back to Denver. Great. When can we come pick it up and leave you a loaner car?
Awesome. Absolutely.
Drove up with a loaner car, drove my car back down, fixed it, and they did it within 2 days. So I'm not telling you that you have to drive from Denver, Colorado to Steamboat, Colorado for 3 hours, but I'm just letting you know that I will never go anywhere than that service department. I'll give them all my business. It's highly professional, and they made it extraordinarily easy for me.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I had one more, which dates back to Dia and Barry Madison out in Alaska doing bike builds in the winter months to drive traffic into their store. And everybody was excited. Everybody was buying stuff during the winter months. They're doing a lot more trikes than they ever had during the season that I remember they were doing this. And then all those bikes were on social media. I don't even think there was social media as we know it at that time, but they were pushing it out to all their customers about come in and tell us what you think about that. They sold the bikes. They sold P&A off of all of those bikes to a ton of other people, right? And they're generating traffic and excitement in the motorcycling industry in Alaska in the middle of winter. So we've had several dealers do bike builds that aren't in Alaska, and it's super successful if you promote it correctly. So that's another way to drive some traffic in the winter months.
Yeah, a couple things. It's driving traffic in the winter months. It's also, what you should do is take 2 salespeople, 2 parts people, 2 service people, and give them a budget and then create a build off, right? Have 3 builds going. If you're going to build 3 anyway over the winter, why not do it all at once? Have teams. It builds enthusiasm inside your store.
Yeah.
It gives people a reason to get excited to come back into work, and it creates competition of, I bet you ours will sell first, right? That kind of thing. And then, run social media campaigns all over the place. That's a great idea. Last one that I have is using personality tests for hiring per position. We do it here at Garage Composites. We've been doing that for years, and I'm not saying it always works because we have turnover just as much as the next guy. But hey, man, it'd be good to understand somebody's personality before you hire them, because that is just notorious in these industries that you spend a lot of time, money, and effort to bring people on. That's my whole slow to hire, quick to fire, which is do your due diligence when you're hiring people because of the amount of money that you spend to do it.
It's funny. I think about the people that didn't work out, and I'm like, a lot of those people were reporting to Tony, and ever since everybody started reporting to Glow and Jolene, we haven't really had any turnover. So
no, that's not true. Actually, they have. There's a lot of people that we've punted. A lot of great hires by. Hey, and let's not go ahead and throw your name out of the hat right there, my friend. There's a lot of wingnuts that you've had working for this company.
I'm pretty sure I brought you on, if I remember correctly.
No, you did not bring me on. Hey, everybody, that's 1 hour and 3 minutes of GarageCast. 1 hour, 3 minutes of GarageCast. That's the
10 minutes of a rant, 53 minutes of a GarageCast.
Yeah, we got to go back and clean that up, if you're listening to this, it has already been cleaned up. So for Sam Dantzler, I'm Tony Gonzalez. This has been GarageCast. Have a fantastic Tuesday, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.